Hi humans, I have a story time about how I met some cousins when I went to Germany. This is a good one. Okay, as you know, I traveled over to Europe for 2 weeks and I started in Frankfurt, Germany. And I chose to fly into Frankfurt because as a longtime genealogist, I started my family tree well over 27 years ago now. When I first started, it was AOL days, and I came across a cousin in one of the chats for genealogy in our local, Michigan area. I met that cousin and she was a lot older than me. She was my grandmother's age. And she was my grandmother's, on my dad's side's cousin. And I met with her in our little town in Michigan, and she, told me all about that family line. It was called the Lohr, Lohr, as their surname. They were from Germany, and she had plans to go over there to that village and was telling me all about it. We became regular communicators, and we would write each other every Christmas just to update on our lives and fill each other in on what was going on. And she eventually, when I met with her, she gave me this big printout packet, which I still have boxed up somewhere, all the other research that her and a couple other cousins have been working on for this lore line. She gave it to me as a gift. In that gift was like a little bowl that my great grandmother created or painted or something. I still have it. And some really old treasured photos. This was such a gift to me because on my dad's side, I did not know, they just didn't talk about it. I wasn't close, and I didn't find out till just a few years ago after my dad passed that nobody thought I was his kid. DNA confirmed it, whatever. I'm not close with that side of the family, just a few little cousins that are dear to my heart, and I know they're going to be watching this. So I have continued the research on this lore line, and I got a little bit farther out. But once you get into like the 1600s, you can, there's no records. You can only go so far, especially in a country outside the US and especially in Germany. Here we are. I have saved all this information data on my ancestry family tree, and it's been confirmed through DNA, and it's helped me, find more details on all my pretty far back. So I'm going on this trip, and I knew this little town called Blankenheim. It's in Hessen, Germany. I knew I wanted to go there. That was like, as soon as I got off the plane, I was renting a car and I was going there. So that's what I did. The other surname was Muehleisen. I didn't want to go too far back or too far out. I wanted to go the surnames in the areas of the families that broke up and came to the US, which were, I can't even pronounce it, but they were like south, like 2 hours south of Frankfurt, right at the northern part of the Black Forest. And then Little Blankenheim, which is 2 hours, well, an hour and a half, 2 hours north of Frankfurt. As soon as I got off the plane, I went and rented a car. I was going to Blankenheim. Made it there. First of all, I absolutely love driving on the Autobahn. That was amazing. So I get there and I had no expectation. I just wanted to take some photo, take some video. I searched on Google for the only cemetery in that little village, and that was my target. I just wanted to drive around, check things out, go to the cemetery, see if I could find any, ancestral grave sites. What I didn't know is every 30 years or so, most places in Germany will remove the old headstones to make room for the new, because it takes about that long for graves to decompose. I didn't know that. I was perplexed when I'm going into this obviously very old cemetery, and I did not see anybody born before 1920. So I just walked around, took photos and videos, and I felt my ancestors. I knew. And there were some names that I recognized in my tree, and I was like, maybe it's them. Maybe we're related. I took photos, I documented things. I plan on looking up just to see how we're related. And I just was no other expectation. So there was a little seating area at the entrance of the cemetery. And I went and sat down, and I was just like tired and just, wow, I can't believe I'm here. Like how awesome was that? Suddenly, this older couple comes walking in, and they, nodded and waved, but it was just like it was a public place. They were going to the graves of some of the surnames that I recognized. And something in my head was like, you need to try and talk to them. Maybe we're related. I got out my Google Translator, and I'm like, I'm so sorry to bother you. I'm from America. I'm looking for my great grandparents' graves. Their last name were Lohr and Muehleisen and Fay and Claus. And, are you related or could you help me? They picked up that I was trying to do communication through the phone, and they were young enough, I guess, not too old, but young enough that they understood what I was trying to do, and they read it and understood, and then they were talking themselves and, talking into my phone and everything. And the gist of it is there was still a family with the surname Lohr and another family that was still living in the village just down the road. And if I wanted to, they'll take me there. I just get in my car and follow them. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I was just so excited. I couldn't believe it. And I was like, oh, I don't want to I don't want to disturb you. I apologize. And they're like, no problem, no problem. I followed them in the rental car to this beautiful farmhouse. And the guy went up to the door and was knocking, and an elderly man came, and they were talking German. And I don't speak German, so I have no idea. But I heard him say Lohr several times. Elderly man called his grandson, and his grandson was just a few years younger than me. And he spoke a little bit of English, like enough. And, with my work with Amerasian children and my own story of my brother meeting him from Vietnam, like I understand when I speak to someone who does not speak English very well, to just, limit the words. Like, so communication was easy for me and them, it made it a little bit easier, and the translator made it easier. I was trying to show them on my phone, which my battery was dying. I was freaking out about that, but I was enough to show them my family tree. I pulled it up, Ancestry family tree on my phone, showed them who my grandparent was, my great-grandparent, my great-great-grandparent. And they recognized the names, not my grandparent or my great-grandparent, but like the second and third great-grandparents. So we shared the third great-grandparent, and they were all, a lot of excitement, a lot of like, yeah, So I'm trying to explain that I'm from America, and that I had met a cousin in America that came to the village of Blankenheim years ago. And the elder goes, May Traeger? And I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, yeah, cousin. This family was the same family that my cousin May went and met. They were still alive. And we were all just so excited, and like a lot of communication, and it was just so neat. They instantly like, and come on in, I didn't want to put them out. I was just like, I'm so sorry. It's, I don't want to disturb. No, come. I was just in such like awe and shock over, I actually am here. Like, I never would have imagined this. So I have these cousins in Blankenheim, Germany that are still alive that, because we had this other cousin that previously went there. And they told me I'm the only second person from America of the cousins that have come back to the village. Like, that is just, to me, I mean, other people might not think it's cool, but I never in a million years would have expected this at all. The elder man, his name is Kurt. But Kurt is the one that met with May, and when him and his wife were younger, and they just had their children. And so they brought me in and started pulling out these boxes and these photo albums and all this paperwork, and just spread it all over their dining table. We sat at the dining table, and I asked if I could take photos, and yeah. I just started snapping all kinds of stuff, and I made sure my phone was like on RAW, the highest quality when you take photos. And I was just snapping away, and I got so many old documents from like 1600, like everything they had been saving. Some that is I recognized because when May was there, they showed her the same, and she made copies and actual like photocopies and then sent them to me. So I recognized some of them. Some of the people in the old photos I recognized from my research in this little town in Michigan, where they have like an old history book with family photos. I recognized the faces because I've been looking at them all these years. I was running out of like cell phone battery, and it was getting late. Like, I arrived in the morning, but like by the time all this happened, it was like close to dinner time, or just past dinner time. I was so exhausted. I was overwhelmed and exhausted. It was like they instantly, how long are you here? Can you come back tomorrow? And I had no plans but to come back, because I was going to go to the other end of Frankfurt for that. So I was like, well, I can come back for you. Yeah, hell yeah, I'm coming back. I asked them when, and they said probably around like 1 or 2, and I said, okay, no problem. So I said my goodbyes, and my phone died. But before that, I gave my email address to the grandson. And so I said, I can you write your address? I could not find it anymore. Like, if I came back, I wouldn't know how to get here. And so he said, I'll email you all the information. Don't worry. I said, okay. And so I left before it got dark, and it just started getting dark when I got back to the hotel and checked into the hotel. I was just like, I cried the whole time back. I just cried because I don't want to cry now. This is history of our family that I never knew, and I had to find it for myself because nobody on my father's side was talking to me or sharing any of it with me because they didn't think I was family. DNA doesn't lie. Anyway, I get home. I was exhausted. I like crashed, and I knew I had to get up early so I could go down to the other part early in the morning. And then from that area back to Blankenheim, it was like a 4-hour drive. I did it. I got up early, like super early, crack of dawn, drove down to these other areas that were more like in Baden-Württemberg area, just above the Black Forest in Germany. Drove around for like 2 hours, went to a cemetery there, found more surnames, did not find any cousins, darn. Kind of timed it to where I would probably be like back in Blankenheim about 3 o'clock. So then that's what I did. And driving on that Autobahn, that was pure joy, pure bliss. I loved it. Back in Blankenheim, the grandson did email me and gave me the address and everything. And I went back there, and I was greeted with like the wife. She is so darling. Oh my gosh, she's so darling. In between that time, she baked a real German cheesecake just for me. Like, she baked a full one, but just like it's a special occasion. She set up the table. We had the cheesecake. We had they made lunch, and I could not express the kindness they were giving to me, being a complete stranger, but knowing that I'm related to them. The grandson, I kept apologizing to him because, you know, he wasn't into it, but he knew he had an important role so that me and his grandfather could communicate, and he was fine with it. But Kurt he's my cousin, and the grandson kept expressing to me how excited he was. It wasn't just me that was excited. He was excited. They all were excited. They ended up calling the grandson's mom, who was a little kid when cousin May went over there. I got to talk to her on the phone. Like, she didn't know what was going on, so they explained to her, and then she was like, oh, that's cool. And she's closer to my age, I think. Maybe a little bit older. Yeah, I think she's just a little bit older. The grandson had a sister who was younger than him, like a younger sister that I think was closer to my son's age. And she's like a world traveler, speaks English very well. So he called her up on a video chat, and we got to like video chat. And she was asking me all, because she was excited about it. It was just, it was such an amazing experience. And more than anything, I wished people in my dad's side of the family could have experienced that, or were even interested in it. I know a couple of my cousins are pretty excited about this video. They're wanting to hear the story, and I'm going to share it with them. But I wish more people in their family, like my family, would appreciate it or be excited about it or accepting of it. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. For me and my experience and everything that I've gone through in my whole life, I've never really felt much connection with my paternal side. And for the first time, it was like I had that acceptance from complete strangers that, oh yeah, your family, welcome. On the way back the night before, I had texted and called my younger brother, who, you know, the flight attendant that got me the ability to even travel. He's been interested more in genealogy stuff and the history because similar reasons, but just to tell him, I had to tell somebody. Like, I had to tell somebody. And so I called him, talked to him. He was excited. He's like, hey, when you're there the next day, call me and we'll video chat. Okay. So that's what I did. So I talked to their family, like their extended family, and then called up Kevin, and I was like, okay, wake up, because he's in San Francisco and I'm in Frankfurt time. So he was sleeping for a while, but he woke up and we got to video chat, and they got to, talk and everything. And it was just so cool. It was so cool. I just don't understand when you find out you have a new family member, or you even question whether that family member is like legitimately bloodline. Like, I don't understand why people couldn't be accepting. It's always beyond me. I don't understand it. But that's neither here nor there right now, because this story really has changed my life. It's brought me so much joy that I know will stand the rest of my life. I know I don't have like 20, 30, 40 years with my cancer and everything. I might have a good 20 years if I'm lucky. But it'll last me that long. This was such a gift, such a beautiful gift. And also, I would love to go back. I would love to go back just to go visit them and then go to the other village and find out. Because I know there's cousins. You Google people and you see the last name. It's the same, that are people that are still alive. So I would love to go back sometime. I wasn't really jazzed about going to Germany per se, like itself. Like, I didn't get too excited about it. I'm excited now. I'm excited to go back for the ancestral connection, to meet cousins and share what I have learned in the photos. And I know not everybody's into that, but wow, it'd be so cool. To me, it would be so cool. When I left, I promised them that I would like gather up all the photos and information that I have and send it to them through email. So I'm working on that, and I should probably email them and let them know I got home safe. They're worried about me now, Before I left, they said that they had another cousin that is from the other Lohr family that married, like the one of the grandmothers married into a different family, and then their child has a different name, but they're still related, and they were just like around the corner in a different farm. I got into the car with the elder cousin Kurt, and with everybody, and he drove us over to this other farm, and I got to meet this other cousin, and this other cousin was like not that much older than me. He thought it was cool. He spoke no English at all, so the grandson came along and he just thought it was cool. He was asking me all kinds of information about America and like where from and where did we end up. And like he was so excited about it, but he didn't have any like photos or anything to share. We just stayed outside. And then from there, we drove to the local church. And this church was like a whole big, it was like the church grounds, super old. It was like one of the oldest buildings in the village. It survived World War I, II, all the wars. There's other wars from Germany that I don't know about, but like it survived. You could see some of the changes, and it had like buildings attached that were part of the original monk monastery, they were telling me. The original grave site, they removed all the headstones, and a private owner purchased that little section and built a beautiful garden. So even though the original Lohr, that we can't find any information on where he was from, was Fritz Lohr. He came to Blankenheim in 1666. He was still buried on the grounds under this. There was no gravesite, and we couldn't go over there because it was a private residence. But the owner built a beautiful garden, so I got a little picture of the garden at least. But to know that the DNA of my ancestors were still on the land that I was standing on was just amazing and overwhelming. Gosh. So we wrapped it up, and then I left and went on my European adventure. That's the story. Thanks for listening. I got a lot of editing, but I hope to meet more cousins in the future. I've met some on here even. It's pretty cool. So if you made it this far, thank you. Love you guys. Love you cousins. We're all related anyway, so see ya.